Live. So, welcome to the Osmo DFS Strategy Show. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with the Road Warrior. That would be one Adam Ship My Money Share, who's out there in what has become his new home, San Francisco. How's it going, Adam?
Pretty good. I'm excited to be doing a morning show at 8:15 instead of 6:15. So that's a step up.
Yes, that this is more like a morning show for you, but I've got a gift I'm going to give you. So you're going to come back. You've gotten used to the West Coast. Your hours are going to be messed up when you get back. You're not going to have to worry about having your weekend messed up by daylight savings time when we spring forward, because you're already messed up when you get home. So
That is very true. Was that tonight or
it will
last
be
night?
tonight. We spring forward by an hour. I was trying to
Great.
do the math this morning to figure out if that was going to help you or hurt you when you got back to the West Coast. I think it helps by an hour is what I came down to.
Yeah, I think it will. It'll suck tomorrow though because it's one less hour I have to sleep before my flight. But
Exactly. So chat the over-under on Adam pushing back his flight.
no, I'm out of contacts.
Okay. Oh, that's the driving factor to get you home.
Yeah.
Have you worn glasses on a show?
I have not.
Okay, well, there we are.
I thought I was gonna have to once, and I managed to find two spare contacts and get out of it.
Oh, good times. Good times. Let's see here. We do have an early game. It is at noon, or nooner, if you will. It is the Knicks hosting the Kings. We're not going to worry about that one because you're either playing a showdown slate or you're skipping it. Because I'm now a DGen, I'm playing showdown slate because I was up early doing some research and other fun things. But we do have projections for that. So if you want to hop on behind the paywall here and you're not yet a member of Osmo, you can use the promo code NBA Strategy, all one word, to get 50% off any 1 month package that does include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. And wait for it, we've got MMA projections now, Adam. They worked out well last week. I doubled up. We had Josh wrote the MMA article. I used that article to help influence my player pool with the projections and cashed with my hand-built lineups too. So that was a good time. We've got NASCAR today. We've got the Xfinity Series is going this afternoon, and then tomorrow they are going Sunday at 3:30. I can't remember what racetrack they're at. I don't know if they're at Fontana or they're at Phoenix, but I believe they're out there on the West Coast swing because they were in Vegas last weekend. So we've got content for that. And then I dropped a new article in the series, the Cash Game Building Blocks. So that's a free one in front of the paywall. Let me put that into Slack here, and you can check that out. So let's move along here, Adam. We've got 5 games. We will go game by game. Now, Laffy and Josh did a 2-game slate in, I think it was an hour and 45 minutes, Adam.
Yeah, Lofty's a little more talkative than I am.
So I figured this 5-game slate for you and I, well, we'll probably bang it out in about 45 minutes, maybe an hour. So that'll be a good one. But there are some interesting games going on tonight. We do have some injury things that we're going to have to consider and look at. But let's go right in here to the games. Our first one, let me get up to my note sheets. Oh, the back-to-back. So we do have Washington on a back-to-back. They played last night in Charlotte. Tonight they're in Minnesota. And then Charlotte, in turn, hosted Washington last night. And then tonight they are in Milwaukee. Both those teams are underdogs in their respective matchups. There are 5 teams that are playing today that are going to play on Sunday. That's Phoenix, who tonight will be in Portland. Tomorrow they're going to be down in San Francisco going against the Golden State Warriors. You've got Milwaukee hosting Charlotte tonight. Tomorrow they're going to be in San Antonio. You've got the Knicks hosting Sacramento in that early game today. Tomorrow they're going to be at Minnesota. And then, of course, Minnesota, who we've mentioned twice now, they're hosting Washington and will host the Knicks tomorrow. And then Atlanta is hosting Brooklyn, and they will be hosting the Pellies on Sunday. Let's look at our first one here, Adam. We've got Brooklyn at Atlanta. Now, this one, the over-under has been ticking up a little bit. It started out last night, it was 235. It's now 236 and a half. So this will be a fun one. We've got Atlanta is playing at the 14th fastest pace. Brooklyn is at the 9th fastest pace. That's since the beginning of February. And when it comes to defense, well, Atlanta's one of the 3 worst teams, and all 3 of those crappy teams are on today's slate. They're at 27, and then we've got Brooklyn is been relatively solid. They're at 10. Injury news and notes, Amari Spellman is likely going to be out for the rest of the year. He hurt his ankle. They're not going to look at him till April. Well, the season ends April 7th, so he's unlikely to play for the remainder of the year. We know that Dwayne Dedmon is leaning towards doubtful to out with a knee bruise, and the Hawks have brought in Tyler Zeller on a 10-day contract. Shabazz Napier has been ruled out already for personal reasons, and then Trevion Graham has also been ruled out with sore back. And now we have Spencer Dinwiddie has returned, so we still have the cast of thousands there with the Nets. Let's not bury the lead. Let's just start right now, Adam. Alex Len, chalk monster. Alex Len, 4th highest player right now on DK, number 1 on FanDuel. He's broken our hearts. Are our tears going to wash away the sidewalk chalk in the rain once again, or is he going to make us happy, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, he's a volatile player, but you don't really get a much better matchup here with Spellman out and Dedmon most likely out. The minutes should certainly be there for him. It's not a small Nets front court with Jared Allen and Ed Davis. There's nobody out there that's running Alex Len off the floor. So, barring foul trouble or anything, you should get upper 20s in minutes for Len. And I have him projected for about 1.2 points per minute here. So, yeah, he's popular. But the nice thing about him, or at least the thing that makes it really difficult to find pivots to him, is he's not your typical backup that is getting more minutes but isn't really that productive when he plays. He's a very productive player, and even with the price tag rising a bit because this is his 3rd or 4th straight start, he still can just absolutely blow it out of the water. So it's a spot where I'm going to end up with a lot of Alex Len and just differentiating elsewhere.
All right, he is 34% right now in the first popularity projections here on Osmo, and he is number 1 at 43% on FanDuel. I thought that number was just a little bit high because you are giving up your center spot, so it'll be intriguing to see what happens between him and then who I think is the player of the slate, but we'll get to that game in a minute. But Karl-Anthony Towns, who on FanDuel is coming in at half the ownership there of Len. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out throughout the day.
Yeah, the thing with Len on FanDuel is, obviously you're right, you roster the 1 center, but center pricing on FanDuel has been so tight all season long, and that's the case again today, where you have Towns at 11.6, you have Nurkic at 9K, Ayton's at 8,100, and then you have Alex Len at a cheaper price tag than he even is on DraftKings. So relative to the pricing on other guys, he's still just, I think, pretty clearly the top guy there.
All right. How are you feeling about John Collins? This is a good matchup for him. We like taking the bigs going against the Nets here. You've got Collins. This will be the 3rd time they've squared off. He's averaged 34 minutes and 47 fantasy points in these 2 games. That's, of course, no precursor to today's performance. He has been dealing with an illness. His price has trended down somewhat. He's now at 7,200, down from the 8,000 plus that he was just a couple weeks ago. I like him, particularly with Dedmon out. Do you rank him probably as the number 2 player from this squad?
I have him as the number 3 player from Atlanta behind Len and Young.
Okay, so let's move over there to Young. So Young is should see probably 33 minutes or so. What do you have him in there for?
I have him at 34 right now.
Okay. Are you doing the even thing again, or have you broken that?
I've broken that.
Okay, good. It was fun while it lasted, though. It was fun while we discovered it. But back here, 8,200 on DK, 8,300 on FanDuel, 10-team slate. So there's going to be, the herd is going to be strong. On DraftKings, you've got the Portland Trailblazers are pretty underpriced. You've got CJ McCollum at 6,100. How do you compare Young to someone that's 2K less than him?
So comparing Young to McCollum?
To McCollum from a production standpoint.
Yeah, because
that's pretty significant.
Yeah, my baseline on Young is 44 DraftKings points. 36 for McCollum. So McCollum does grade out a little bit better.
Okay.
I have Young projected for like 1.3 points per minute compared to about a point per minute for McCollum, but similar playing time and a much cheaper price tag on McCollum makes them really close.
All right, and then what else do you like here from the Hawks? And I'm just going to kind of turn you loose on that. The only other guy that's really bouncing for me is Taurean Prince. A bit of a discount dandy. He was out for a couple games with paternity, and then I can't remember if he got 2 technicals or he fouled out of his first game back. But
he was ejected.
Okay, there we go. So you've got Len Collins, Young, Len Collins. Oh, that was the name of one of our teachers. Way back in the day at school, and then Taurean Prince. What
you got a teacher named Len Collins Young?
No, Len Collins.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't put those 2 names together. I was like, but anyway, I'm gonna take a little soda break here. Break down the remainder of the Hawks and where you're ranking them on the slate thus far.
Yeah, I mean Prince is the one that stands out for me. He's 4,500 on DraftKings, should play around 30 minutes here. He hasn't been as productive since coming back from his injuries. The usage rate's still been down, but we're seeing him at least trend in the right direction to where he's at least had some, good games recently. Still taking a back seat, obviously, to Trae Young, and then you're still dealing with guys like Bazemore and Herter that occasionally, steal some shots from him. But I just think the price tag in this spot, in what should be a really fast-paced game, is pretty appealing for him. So I have him behind Len, Young, Collins, but I have him ahead of, pretty far ahead of everyone else on Atlanta.
All right. Dante in the premium Slack wants to know how far back in the day for me there was a Len Collins. Let's just say Adam was not yet walking this earth when that happened. So it was a while ago. Moving over here to the Brooklyn side of things, one guy that I like a lot is Spencer Dinwiddie. Now, when he's in and Russell is playing, they kind of have a very similar production. We're getting Russell priced for the production that he earned during the 6 weeks while Dinwiddie was out with his thumb injury. I would lean towards Dinwiddie in this matchup just for the discount, both on DraftKings and FanDuel. What do you got here from the backcourt for the Nets?
Yeah, I'm right there with you on Dinwiddie. 2 games ago, we saw him play really well, but his minutes were limited in a blowout. But if you kind of extrapolated those minutes out, it looked like he was going to play around 30 minutes. And then last game against Cleveland, he did get 30 minutes. So that's where I'm going to project him for this game. He closed that game alongside Russell, so it wasn't like it was a weird closing lineup. They closed with Russell, Dinwiddie, Kurucs, Allen, and Harris, which is exactly what I would expect them to close with a lot of the time. And it's obviously a very favorable matchup. It's a very favorable game environment overall. So getting that discounted price on Dinwiddie is really appealing. He's been virtually unowned his last couple of games as well. A 5-game slate in an obviously good matchup against Atlanta. I don't know that will be the case, but I do expect that at least his ownership probably isn't too inflated because people just haven't been there the last couple of days.
All right. We mentioned Rodions Kurucs. He has been announced as the starting power forward for the remainder of the season. Of course, this is the Nets, so my fingers are crossed that at least that holds true for today in any event. But are you liking him? Jared Allen, 4,800 on DK, phenomenal price point going against the Hawks. There's just a lot to like on both sides of this game.
Yeah, the Nets are a team where they have so many guys that are kind of interchangeable on the wings with Carroll and Kurucs and Crabbe and Harris, but they're all or mostly all affordably priced. So you want to set rules to not have them together or not have more than a couple of them in the same lineup. But on this slate, I imagine that's where I'll be going for a decent amount of my value because, you have $4,200 Joe Harris playing around 31 or 32 minutes against the Hawks. You have, Kurucs, whose price tag has come up, but he played 28 minutes last game. 3,900 on DeMarre Carroll, who I'll project for, 22 to 24 minutes, but if he's playing well, probably plays more, so he has some upside. The point being that you can't really pinpoint which of these guys is going to have a good game on any given slate, but the price tags on all of them are low enough because of that they still offer some tournament upside.
All right, this will be a popular question. Game stacking. if you were going to go this, you probably want two or three from each side. What would you recommend that composition be?
One of Russell. So like if I were hand building a game stack, I would want at least one of Russell Dinwiddie. I would want one of the Brooklyn wings. I'd want one of the Brooklyn centers because 2 games in a row now we've seen, excluding garbage time, Jared Allen and Ed Davis split 48 minutes like they were for most of the season before Rondé Hollis-Jefferson started getting involved. So I'm projecting a 27-21 split between them, but they're both really cheap with Allen at 4,800 on DraftKings and with Ed Davis at 3,200. So I'd want one of those guys. And then from Atlanta, I would want, Len, Young, probably Prince, but, something along those lines.
All right. Anything else that you want to harvest from this bountiful game?
Just to reiterate on Davis and Allen's price tags on DraftKings, they are both way too cheap. I think that it's a favorable matchup, obviously, like it is for everyone else. And Allen should have plenty of block upside here with a Trae Young driving to the basket as frequently as he does, a high usage center and Alex Len as well. So I think it's a good spot for him. But then if he does get in the foul trouble, or if we've just seen at times this year that Ed Davis plays well and he stays on the floor, Ed Davis is greater than a point per minute guy. You don't really need many minutes from him to exceed a $3,200 price tag. And if he does get to the upper end of his minutes range, he can just absolutely smash that. So I imagine that I'll end up with a pretty healthy amount of Ed Davis in DraftKings tournaments.
Now, are you going with the being a 10-team player pool? Are you going with the rule that you won't have Allen and Davis on the same team?
Yeah, that's a rule that I always have.
Okay. And the reason for that, gamers, is they've played, well, at least when I last looked 2 games ago, they had played about a minute and a half together on the floor. It was 8 possessions. I think it was probably both of them being on the court at the same time at the end of games at the free throw line for rebounding purposes, but they don't play together. So that's important because, as Adam mentioned, if one's doing well, it's going to come at the direct expense of the other one almost every time. All right, let's move on to our next game. Oh, it's a rematch of last Sunday's matinee. Let's see, last Sunday you were mad at Uber because they misinformed you on playing. Who was it?
Yeah, my Uber driver didn't stop me from switching to Isaiah Cannon.
Isaiah Cannon, that's right.
Also, just what I think is a bad beat. So I haven't. This probably won't be surprising to anyone, but I haven't updated my phone in like 2.5 years. So now I'm getting to where like none of my apps work anymore. And DraftKings has been telling me for like 3 months that the app isn't going to work. It finally stopped working yesterday. If it had stopped working a week earlier, I wouldn't have been able to make that swap in Uber, and I would have made another 20K. So I feel like that's kind of a bad beat.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. All right, well, this game is a rematch of last Sunday. It's the Washington Wizards. This time they are in Minnesota, taking on the Trailblazers. Pardon me, the Trailblazers. Good God, the T-Wolves. We've got this game. Last, I was sending you messages during this game, Adam, and saying, is it bad that I love the Wizards now without John Wall?
Yeah, for me, it's not even that they don't have John Wall; it's that they do have Bobby Portis and Jabari Parker.
Yeah, it was a fun one, but they scored 135 in regulation. Still have no idea how it was. Sam Decker was heavily involved there at the end, so it was out of control. But 256 points in that one on Sunday. This is the highest total of the game, or pardon me, of the slate here. It's up to 234. Last night when I was taking my notes, it was at 241. So things have been trending up there a little bit. So that's kind of exciting. I think the player of the day for me is going to be Karl Anthony Towns. That really should come as no surprise for anyone. These two teams have the 29th and 30th defensive ratings since the beginning of February. The Wizards are playing at the second fastest pace, and Minnesota is at the 15th fastest pace in that same time frame. It is a back-to-back for the Wizards. They're down to about a 2-3% chance, I think, of making the playoffs after losing to Charlotte last night there in Queen City. Damn, it was a heartbreaking loss there. They probably should have had that, but that's going to hurt them. Sort of a last gasp for them. I don't think they ever know where they are in the standings, Adam, because they'll play up or down to their competition with great regularity. But I love, love, love this game. Let's start off with the Washington side here. I am looking more towards the wings in this one. Reza Portis, Parker, Jeff Green, etc. Those are the guys I like. Beals, if I get him, I'm not going to be angry, but there's a better discount there with McCollum. You get a little bit of a discount there if you go to Trae Young, etc. on DraftKings. Start off with the Wizards. Let's go with their backcourt here. Beal, Satoransky, they're going to be in your plans tonight.
I'm not really, at least as of right now, I'm not really getting that much of Washington. At least looking at DraftKings pricing or FanDuel pricing. Just because they are all pretty much correctly priced. Like Bradley Beal at 9,700 still gives you some upside, but there's just more efficient ways to go. When you talk about, you mentioned CJ McCollum earlier at 6,100. It's pretty tough to justify $3,600 more for Bradley Beal over McCollum, as good as Beal has been. Trae Young for $1,500 less than Beal is a pretty easy sell for me. So as much as I like Beal as a player, and I really like what he's been doing with John Wall out, it's just not the most efficient spot to go to. And then you get to the front court where, the minutes are tough to predict, and normally you're not really getting anyone over 30. Jabari Parker's played at least 26 minutes in 3 straight games, which is nice, but his price tag's already jumped. Bobby Portis is losing a couple of minutes. He obviously had a monster game last night, but he still only played 25 minutes. And Parker, taking some more minutes and seeing more of the, Ariza, Parker, Green front court instead of having Portis in there is just kind of messing things up too. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, the most appealing price tag to me, I think, might be Jeff Green's 4,500 on DraftKings, but he's also the least productive player out of that group on a per minute basis. So even that price tag is probably, deserved.
Yeah, and that's sort of I was getting with my player pool, much like you alluded to. Not a ton was coming out there for the Wizards, so this will be one where if I want to, and I do want to, have a game stack, I will have to influence things a little bit or set aside 20 lineups and go that route just to make sure I get the players that I'm looking for here. Now, with regards to Minnesota, no issue getting those guys in my lineup. Let's see, looking at some of our news and notes here. Robert Covington's still out. Luol Deng is doubtful with an Achilles. Hey, Dwight Howard suffered a rehab setback yet again, Adam. I don't think we're going to see him this year.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
As am I. And I kind of hope we don't see him next year either. Maybe we can pay him to stay home because when he comes back, it's going to be a circus because his whole well, let's just say people can do whatever they want in their personal lives, but his is going to come back to the forefront once again. Poor guy. Stay at home and eat Skittles. That's what you need to do. But we've got, by far, in my opinion, Karl-Anthony Towns is the play of plays. You've got an intriguing option here with Jeff Teague. Now, he's been struggling somewhat. He's been dealing with some injuries, but he's got that 40 fantasy point upside, and this is a fine tournament fine scenario, environment, etc. for him to get there. He's 5,800 on DK, 6,700 on FanDuel. I like him a lot. A guy that was surprising me was the forwards from Minnesota. No, not Dario Saric. I'm not surprised I'm getting him at 3,900 on DK. It was Taj Gibson at 4K even. Yes, he's coming off the bench, but the Wizards just, it's a nice matchup for him. They play fast. They don't rebound. They don't play defense. I kind of like him as a differentiation play on DraftKings at 4,000. Take it from the top, Adam. Karl-Anthony Towns, is he the premier play of the day?
On DraftKings, I think so. On FanDuel, again, it's tougher because you have a clearly underpriced Alex Len, and I'm not going to say overpriced, but probably correctly priced Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, you're paying almost three times as much money on FanDuel for Towns as for Len. That's kind of tough to justify. But, at 10-4 on DraftKings, just, I think, a really, really, really nice price tag for him. It's obviously a phenomenal matchup. Washington doesn't rebound well. They don't defend well. It's a huge pace-up spot for Minnesota. Washington's been incredibly fast since the trade for Portis and Parker. So I expect Towns to be one of my highest-owned guys on DraftKings. I'm with you on Teague as well. Should play into the low 30s, probably somewhere around 30, 31 minutes. And it's just a great matchup. It's a nice price point. I would definitely prefer him to Satoransky at very similar prices. Anything of Wiggins or Rose is fine with me. I have them clearly behind Towns and Teague, but it's just such a favorable matchup that they clearly still do have upside. I wouldn't want to play Rose with Teague, I don't think, just because they probably cannibalize each other a little bit. Saric at 3,900 is fine. I'm not going to Gibson. The minutes just haven't been there since the rotation changed. He's essentially the backup center to Karl Anthony Towns now, and then picks up, maybe a couple minutes alongside of him. And you have Anthony Tolliver in the rotation eating up some of those backup power forward minutes that Gibson was getting. So I just don't see the minutes for Gibson here. And I can't get there.
Okay, and that's Eric ET there in chat is mentioning the same thing. Says Tosh should be efficient as hell, but 20 minutes. Yeah, that's what I've got him at as 20 minutes. So that's this is more of kind of the game stack. This is more of a if I get him, I'm not going to hate it. But you need a couple things to go right for him to get some serious upside. But there's 10 teams in our player pool, and this is one of the ways you could be a skosh different and still get players in this game. So that's just kind of why I bring him up.
If you're playing Gibson, you probably shouldn't be playing Towns in that lineup, though.
Okay. Would you what would you do with Saric or Gibson? You don't mind them together, or is that an issue?
Well, I mean, I'm not playing Gibson, but I'd be okay combining them because they don't really back each other up anymore. Like they used to. Right. Gibson and Saric would split 48 minutes, but now Gibson picks up a couple minutes at the 4. Tolliver plays most of the backup minutes at the 4, and Gibson is basically Gorgie Jang as far as minutes go.
Oh, pour one out for the gorgeous one. All right. Anything else, or shall we get on to game number 3 here?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Boston, Los Angeles. We do finally have a line on this one. It's 222 with Boston favored on the road by 6. We do not have any, I should say, we are waiting on news with Kyle Kuzma. He's got a sprained ankle, missed the last game. Ingram missed the last game as well. He's got a sore shoulder. The Lakers are literally they're all but mathematically eliminated at this point. 538. Has them with a less than 1% chance of making the playoffs. The Wizards have a better chance still of all teams. But this one is a bit of a mess because we don't know what LeBron's going to do. Is he going to play a bunch still because they haven't been eliminated? Is this where things just start rolling back for him? If you watch the last game, it was LeBron and the G League players, or it was Rondo and the G League players. They're on-court teams. I tweeted it out. I'm like, who are these guys? It was like watching Major League, who are these guys? So it's a bit of a mess here. I don't know what we're going to do with these guys just yet because there's so many missing parts. Let's assume that LeBron is in and one of Kuzma or Ingram somehow manages to take the court at 80%. For this, how would you approach the Lakers in that type of scenario?
So, I mean, they're going to be a mess going forward because, we got news that LeBron is going to be limited to 28 to 32 minutes unless the game...
Is that starting now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless the game's competitive and he wants to keep playing.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, so it's going to be a mess. I mean, I'm projecting him for 32 minutes. There's not really any other way that I see to do it. With Rajon Rondo, I'm kind of torn on what to do because he's been playing monster minutes, but there's no real reason for him to still be playing except he's on a 1-year deal. So the Lakers it's not like they have any incentive to limit his minutes. So for now, I'll just keep projecting him for his, 36 minutes until I see otherwise.
And it's a national TV game, right? Does that matter for Rondo? A revenge on ABC, yeah, Saturday night game? Oh, all the Rondo, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and then if assuming at least one of Ingram or Kuzma is out, Josh Hart should play, like 30 minutes at a $3,600 price tag. If they're both out, he should play even more than that. The center rotation last game was a mess, which isn't really surprising to anyone, I don't think. We got 21 minutes from JaVale McGee. We got 27 minutes from Mo Wagner with him playing the final 19 and a half minutes of the game. That seems like it was probably game flow based. When Wagner checked in, the Nuggets were up by about 23 points. The Lakers then went on a 21-7 run, followed by an 8-0 run to almost get the game back to tied. So that second unit kind of just played a ton of minutes. You had Caruso play the final like 15 minutes. You had Wagner play the last 19. Jonathan Williams was in for almost the entire quarter. So I think that was really just game flow dependent. I'm not reading too much into that. So I think that actually McGee could be a pretty interesting tournament play here, depending on his projected ownership, because he played 21 minutes, but he didn't play it all in the fourth quarter because of that second unit, really going crazy. So I think that there's certainly a chance that he could get to 24, 25 minutes here if the game flow goes differently. And he clearly would have upside as like an Alex Len pivot if that's the case. So yeah, not something you'd be confident in, but I don't think we can be really confident in anything from the Lakers right now.
All right, there, Sean V is laughing at Wagner. That's how you pronounce it, like the composer Wagner. That's it. That's what I think it would be pronounced as well. Or should we say, Scene V? That's what we'll go with in chat instead of Sean. Just kidding. Kidding, not kidding. Apparently I need more soda, Adam. Then John Williams, also the guy who wrote the Star Wars music. So we've got two composers here in the Lakers roster. I don't know. Nowhere to go with that. Where we do want to go with is Boston. Now you got Kyrie Irving, who should be playing. He had a bruised thigh, but expected to play. We'll have to see if he's going to, have a good game in front of LeBron. Maybe a bit of a tryout here to see if his old teammate will take him back when he's a free agent. Who knows? I'm not really excited about Kyrie. What I do like, though, Horford, Tatum, Morris, Hayward, Smart, Brown. Love them. Love them on all sites. Where we get a little bit of the question marks here with what on DK with the essentially perfect pricing on the Wizards. In turn here, I think on DK the Celtics are a little underpriced for this particular matchup. So I got a lot more Celtics than I was expecting when I was mucking around with my early morning player pool here. Start with Kyrie. Do you like him? How much are they going to, quote, need him? This feels like a 40 or 45 fantasy point night for Kyrie, so nothing eye-popping.
I have him around 46 to 48. Assuming the game stays competitive, I would expect around 36 minutes from Kyrie. Obviously a good matchup against a really fast-paced Lakers team that has struggled defensively since Lonzo Ball's injury. Kyrie has been very productive when he's been on the floor, and as all the issues the Celtics have and locker room chemistry issues, whatever, production wise, Kyrie's been perfectly fine. I have him projected for about 1.3 points per minute here, so he stands out as a good play. He's another guy that I would rather roster than Bradley Beal, even though Beal in a vacuum is fine. Horford, I like whatever I get is fine. But again, with the way center is breaking down today, you can get upside for cheap in Len or, a riskier JaVale McGee, or you can pay up to town. So I don't think I'll get much to that mid range. The wings, you mentioned the appealing price tags. It kind of reminds me of Brooklyn, where like you don't want to just have all these guys in a lineup because they're not all going to contribute that frequently. But when you have Hayward at $4,300 and you have Marcus Morris at $4,400, you have Jalen at $4,600, one of these guys is going to do well in most of the time in this game. So just kind of rotating those guys through. Hayward would be my preference. He's been playing reasonably well lately. He's been weird. I mean, he's obviously had some really bad DFS games, but he's still been close to a fantasy point per minute guy over the last couple of months. It's just that some games he's really good and some games he's really bad. But that sort of inconsistency still makes him an appealing play because the ceiling is there. The price tag's still cheap. So I like Hayward. I think 4,400 is a little cheap on Morris. I would put him second out of that group, and then Brown would be my third guy.
All right. What do you think Baines has in him tonight?
Like 14 minutes.
Okay.
They've said that he's limited for the foreseeable future.
Okay. That's good to know. Let's see here. We've got 2 more games to go. Reminder, if you guys have not yet signed up for Osmo, you can use the promo code NBA Strategy, all one word, and get 50% off any 1-month package. Here you get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on if you would like to select that as well. That's a nice steep discount to their product, but they like that we have been supporting them and doing a lot of good work, helping helping people figure out how to use it. It can be a little bit daunting. I've been doing the Cash Building Blocks article. I've been putting out a tip of the day, Fantasy Cruncher tip of the day in each one of those articles. I'll be writing this Fantasy Cruncher tip of the day later. After this show, I've got the rest of the article up, but if you guys want to check that out, you can go here. If you got any suggestions for what you want to see or what you want to know how to do in Fantasy Cruncher, you can put them in chat. I'll take a look at them and then write up on how to do those things as we're going forward. All right, 2 games left here. We've got Charlotte and we've got Milwaukee. The Bucks are now favored by an even dozen, 227 over. Pardon me. Yep, 227 over under here. We've got Charlotte on the back-to-back. You've got Giannis, incredibly priced, highly priced, that is, and we're probably going to see 32, 34 minutes from him. So I am not really excited by Giannis. I prefer any of the other Bucks to him. I think Bledsoe, I think Middleton, Lopez, Brogdon, those guys are all fine. But for me, Giannis is probably not going to end up on many, if any, of my teams. I'm not overly excited about LeBron either, which is, of course, getting me a lot of Karl-Anthony Towns because his price and his matchup. That just kind of seems where I'm ending up. I'm not playing FanDuel, focusing on DK, so I do have a utility spot, so I can go with the double centers tonight, which it looks like it may be the case. With regards to Giannis tonight, what do you think an upside game from him is against Charlotte on the back-to-back, mega underdogs, and knowing that Giannis has been pretty well kept between that 32 and 34 minutes? Their West Coast swing that they just got back from, he didn't play in that overtime game in Sacramento. He didn't play more than 32 or 34 minutes in winnable losses in Utah and Phoenix. I just don't see him. I don't see him getting over 50 fantasy points tonight, Adam, unless he's like sinking every shot.
You don't see him getting over 50?
Yeah, 5-0. What do you have? So this is why I want to bring it up, because this is one that I'm worried I'm just dismissing out of all of this. So this is where I want to hear from you. What do you see here? Because to me, this feels like a scary disappointment waiting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I have him at like 57 or 58.
Okay. And what do you think? What are you projecting him for minutes?
33.
Okay.
But I mean, he's like a 1.75 point per minute guy.
Agreed. Agreed. But yeah, for me, I'm not getting there. And part of mine is I don't think the upside is going to is going to present itself as often in this particular game. And that's just what it comes down to.
So for me, he's site dependent. The price tag on DraftKings, I think, is, again, in a vacuum, it's fine, but I just can't really pay $900 more for Giannis than Towns in their respective matchups all that often. But on FanDuel, where you have Towns at 11-6, Giannis at 12-1, Towns at a center position that has Alex Len, Giannis at a small forward position that is, always weak and gets weaker now that LeBron's on a minutes limit, I think that I probably will get a lot of Giannis on FanDuel just because of the position and roster construction there. I agree that I probably won't get a whole lot on DraftKings just because there are so many different ways to go, and paying for Giannis as opposed to Towns is really tough to sell to me.
Now, putting this in perspective here, over on draft, where you're just you're drafting the best player, it's raw points. You've got 2 guards, 2 forwards, a center. Giannis would be my number 2 pick behind Towns, no questions asked. But I'm going for raw points there. So there is safety in this, but with the Atlanta game, with the Wizards, with the one we're going to talk about next, there's some games that really have an opportunity to just go gonzo tonight, and I feel that more often than not, I can find somebody, multiple somebodies in those games that are going to be more productive when including price than Giannis. So that's just where I'm at. But this is why we like to talk through this stuff. I mean, Giannis is arguably a top 5 player in the game right now, and is just phenomenal. But
top 1 player in the game.
Top 1 player. What? He moved ahead of
top 2.
Well, where's the Joker?
Behind Giannis.
Okay. What about that old guard, the 20-year-old from Dallas? Your favorite?
Yeah. He'll be top 2 next year.
Okay. So all right, there you go. There you go. You hear it from Adam first. Giannis number one.
Giannis, Paul George number one.
Pardon?
Paul George number one. Giannis number two.
Okay. Joel Embiid?
No.
Okay. This is fun. This is fun. Anything else from? Well, go into the rest of the Bucks. Oh, and we just got word that Tony Parker is out. Thank you, Premium Chat, for that one. It's a back-to-back, so it's no surprise that he's out. Biyombo was dealing with the sore knee. He played last night. Dante DiVincenzo is back from his heel injury. Let's see what happens with him on a back-to-back. George Hill's ruled out with a groin injury. Sterling Brown's ruled out with a wrist injury. So tertiary plays are out here. And who was it? Was it Michael Kidd-Gilchrist that got dinged up last night?
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll get to Charlotte here in a second. Moving on to the rest of the Bucks here, I really do like Lopez. I think he's kind of getting lost in the shuffle here. I think he's an intriguing counter move to Alex Len. Bledsoe, Middleton, absolutely fine getting them. I like Brogdon a little bit better. That's a lot of that between that trio is going to be dictated by price. But what do you like here with the rest of the Bucks?
Not a whole lot for me. Pace down spot for Milwaukee, and just it's tough because you mentioned it when you were talking about draft, but like there are so many appealing games on the slate with Brooklyn, Atlanta, with Washington, Minnesota, with Boston, the Lakers, and with every game on the slate to me is more appealing than this game. Mm-hmm. So, and you have Milwaukee, who is clearly, limiting minutes at least somewhat in game. They just have so many guys. They have so many good players that they don't have to run anyone out there for 36 minutes, whereas these other teams do. So it gets tough to really prioritize anyone for me. That's not to say that Bledsoe can't have a good game. It's not to say Middleton can't have a good game. They certainly can, but they're just not going to be priorities for me because, I have Bledsoe projected for 29 minutes. I have Middleton at 32, whereas you can look to Portland, where Lillard and McCollum are both going to play 35 or 36. You can look to, any of the other teams we've talked about. It's just tough for me to really prioritize any of these guys.
All right. Let's talk about Charlotte here. We had a great Marvin Williams game. I did not realize he was going to be half the teams on DraftKings. I thought he would go a little bit over. Well, when I say overlooked, I mean 30-ish%. But anytime you get to half, that's pretty impressive on somebody that's not like in the, like a chalk player or directly replacing someone because of injury, etc. Kemba Walker, a little bit disappointing last night. Didn't kill us, but didn't really do much for us. For Charlotte this evening, I'm okay with Marvin Williams, but not really excited by any of their players, Adam. Just for basically the same reasons you were mentioning, you're not overly excited for any of the Bucks. Do you have anything from the Hornets that you'd like to point out?
Not as a priority. Again, just not really an appealing game for me. Milwaukee, a very good defensive team. It is a pace-up spot for Charlotte. But, again, like we saw Kaminsky play 15 minutes last night. I had mentioned on the show yesterday that I wasn't confident that we were going to continually see 23, 24 minutes from Kaminsky. I still think it's certainly in the range of outcomes. And so I'm going to end up projecting him for, like 21 probably. But the price tag's come up a little bit. Parker being out doesn't really change anything because you just get Devontae Graham taking those minutes normally. Maybe Dwayne Bacon plays some. That doesn't matter for DFS. It's just kind of a mess where, Kemba, Lamb, and Williams, I think, are all players that are okay, but they're just not going to be in a lot of my lineups.
Yeah, and circling back, we have the Bucks have the number 4 defensive efficiency rating over the last 6 weeks. So not the easiest of matchups.
I'm trying to quickly, and I'll just double back to it when I get to it, but trying to pull up Milwaukee's numbers against pick and roll point guards this year. I'm pretty sure they should be good, but I just want to double check it.
All right. Well, let's, in the meantime, we'll look to our nightcap, the hammer, if you will. Phoenix at Portland. Portland is, let's see what the update is. They are double-digit favorites, 12.5. We have a 27.5 over under here. That was down a little bit last night when I wrote it up. I had 229.5. So I'm sure that'll just bounce around throughout the day, but stick around that similar area. Great matchup here. We've got two teams that are in the bottom third of the league for defensive efficiency and in the top third of the league for pace. This is the third time these guys are squaring off. Blazers are up 2-0. They're averaging 114 points in this series. Suns are at just 98 or 96 points per game. But the players have changed. Adam, we got a lot of different players here. You got Elia Kobos down in the G League. We have no TJ Warren. Evan Turner was out Thursday's game for personal. They haven't said if he's going to be back with the team today. Kelly Oubre, Tyler Johnson, Enes Kanter, they're all new in this matchup here. Starting at the top, what do you got for us? Let's start with Portland first. We mentioned, we've hinted at CJ McCollum being at a phenomenal price point on DraftKings. How do you approach that when you've got him and McCollum? Yes, you have CJ and Lillard. Lillard fine at 8,800. He was phenomenal in the overtime game in the last one, but we haven't seen a ton of Lillard's upside at this point. Do we, will we see it tonight? I don't know. I just think Phoenix is going to roll over. So what do you start with the Portland backcourt? What do you like in here?
Probably don't really want to play Lillard and McCollum together, just unless it's a game stack. Just because if you get 60 fantasy points from Lillard and 50 from McCollum, which obviously would be great, but it's just tough for them to do it together unless this game just absolutely shoots out and is close down to the wire. And Devin Booker probably has like 40 real points or something. So outside of that, I don't think I would want them in the same lineup. But especially on DraftKings, they are both clearly underpriced. McCollum at 61 and Lillard at 88 compared to 10-3 on Lillard and 8,000 on McCollum on FanDuel. It is a nice matchup. Phoenix doesn't play at the fast pace that they used to, but they still suck defensively. And we know that Portland's going to score points here, and it's a very concentrated offense in that the points generally come from McCollum, Lillard, and Nurkic. So having those guys is obviously a good spot to be. I'm actually kind of torn, looking at the DraftKings prices. I might not even make that Lillard-McCollum rule because they are both so cheap. And it's only a 5-game slate. I might just go ahead and run them together. And Nurkic, obviously a really good play at 7,000 on DraftKings as well. 9,000 on FanDuel is a bit tougher, but I think still gives you some upside. I think I'd still Nurkic and Towns are similar for me on FanDuel when you factor in their prices. I have Towns ahead of Nurkic on DraftKings, but I still have Nurkic as a top play. Should play around 30 minutes here. Should just absolutely eat against this team.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to like from that trio. I think Enes Kanter is lying in the weeds there. He's 4K on DraftKings. He's 4,400 on FanDuel. He is the sort of pivot away from an Alex Len type. You're hoping Len gets in foul trouble. You're hoping Kanter gets, 18 to 20 minutes, and he just rips it up against Ayton and whoever else is out there on the court. I mean, you could see Kanter get a double-double in 20 minutes. You could see him with a phenomenal game in this matchup, but I don't want to ignore him, but it's yet another center. Nurkic is 7K. Again, that's just awesome on DraftKings, and I think Nurkic and Towns lineups are going to be popular there. Looking at some of their other guys, you've got Harkless, you've got Rodney Hood, you've got Al-Farouq Aminu. I think those guys are all fine. Harkless been dealing with knee soreness. Hood is new to the team, but he has played a lot more minutes recently with Evan Turner dealing with the sore knee and then being out. Aminu, hard to get a read on him, Adam. It's just, for me, it's hard to get a read on him. And then if you want an absolute wild card and some mop-up duty, now you're going to need mop-up duty for this, but Seth Curry. And in the previous two games, he actually got there. He's minimum priced. You're hoping that he gets 15, 20 minutes of run, and that's just, again, it's a differentiation player, or on the late slate, that two-gamer. I think you can start to get a little funky going with someone like that. But of the guys who we know are going to get minutes, Harkless, Hood, and Aminu, how do you like them in this matchup?
Aminu's my favorite just because I think he gets the most minutes. He sucked in that last game, but he still played 37 minutes. I'll project him for 30, but there's clearly the upside for more. Harkless is fine. The minutes have been up and down, but I feel a little bit more confident in Aminu's minutes. And just to double back to Kanter, I do agree with you. So I would just so much rather play Kanter than Taj Gibson at that same price point.
Yep.
Because Cantor, like you said, is the kind of guy that can just go absolutely nuts in 18 to 20 minutes. And then if Nurkic were to get in foul trouble or something like that, Cantor would just immediately become one of the top plays. And so obviously you don't want Nurkic and Cantor in the same lineup, but it is a very appealing matchup, obviously, for Cantor. And because we know Nurkic is going to have heavy ownership at $7,000, that means Cantor is not going to have heavy ownership. And you basically can just vault yourself ahead of the field with your Cantor lineup. So not saying that you need massive amounts of Cantor. It's just the spot where, on a 5-game slate where you're looking to get a little bit different with value, he's the kind of guy that I like, kind of taking a chance on, because all he needs is the minutes to be a top play. That's it. And those minutes can come because of a blowout. They can come because of foul trouble, injury, whatever. You just need a little bit of luck on your side, and you have Cantor just winning you a tournament.
Yeah, and that is one that I really, really like. One of the things I don't mind doing, I don't mind going with them on the same team on that 2-game late slate. I don't know how many people are going to do that, and it's sort of a way to be different. I mean, that means you're not playing DeAndre Ayton, but that should create enough separation between you and what the rest of the masses are doing that's something that you can take a look at. Moving over to Phoenix, most of the heavy lifting, of course, will be done by Oubre, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker. Who do you like amongst that, or rank that trio, since that's where the bulk of the production is going to come from Phoenix?
Ayton, Booker, Oubre, I guess, but I'm not really getting much of any of them. If I do play them, I would want to make sure that I have them paired with some combination of the big three on Portland, just because, again, if Booker goes out there and has a monster game, it increases the likelihood that this game turns into a shootout that's competitive to the end. And if that's the case, I'm most likely wasting Booker on teams that don't have McCollum or Lillard.
Okay, totally fair. Let's see. Yeah, their prices are. I mean, if you're looking at Oubre versus Al-Farouq Aminu, you get a 2K discount to Aminu. Now, Oubre's got a better chance at getting 40 plus, but they probably both have about the same chance for hitting in the 25 to 30 range, and you get that discount. It does make a difference. Do you like any of the tertiary plays here? Tyler Johnson, Mikal Bridges, anybody? Josh Jackson?
No, I'm not that high on the Phoenix side here.
All right. Did you know that Portland is only about 3 hours from Seattle? Did you further know that Jamal Crawford is playing his 18th and likely final season? Did you know this could be a friends and family game if people come down to see him in person one last time? Shout out to Jamal Crawford of Rainier Beach High School. Adam, you're getting desperate if you're playing him, but he could get 10 or 15 minutes. Or he could get a DNP CD. I have a feeling he's going to play tonight, but who knows? Who knows? Any other thoughts on this particular game?
Nope.
All right, let's do a little Thrive action here, Adam. While you're calling that up, who won last night? You or Mr. Engelman?
Oh, Josh won. I gave him a nice good start.
Okay. Well, see, look, you gentleman that you are. You're traveling. You didn't want him to have to stew all day with that loss. Now, are you guys just playing on Fridays, or are you playing on days that you're both on the strategy show?
I don't know.
I bet it's going to be when you're both on the strategy show, because this is going to be a fun one. Now, we've got a new little offer here from Thrive. I don't have the code for this show, but I'm going to drop it into Slack, or pardon me, into the YouTube chat here. If you come in off this particular link here and use the promo code AwesomoStrat, Awesemo STRAT, you'll get $5 for signing up. You don't even have to deposit. So that seems like fun, getting $5 just to sign up for something. I'd like to do that. Sadly, they don't play in Virginia, but that's okay. Adam and I are going to play here. So Thrive is the prop bets. You guys know the drill. We're going to go over a couple here, but the more likely an outcome, the less points you get. The less likely the outcome, the more points you have an opportunity to win. You've got 20 questions, and you pick any 10 that you want, and that's how you compete with the rest of the field. All right, I'm calling up a source of projections that are not ours or yours, so we can sort of be different here. What do you got here for our first question, Adam?
The first one that jumps out because we talked about him is Spencer Dinwiddie over under 5.5 assists, but you get 110 points for the over.
Ooh, I'm gonna take the over. I got him for 5.9 here on this projection. Let's see. In his last 4 games, he's gotten 5, 5, 4, 4. I'll take the over. I like the little boost in points.
Yeah, same here. I have him projected right around 5.5, but with the 110 points for the over, I like that. Staying in that same game on the other side, John Collins, 10.5 rebounds with 115 points for the over. I think the 110 makes it interesting.
It does. Let's see. Recent history. Collins coming back off that illness. He's last 4 games. Now remember, he missed 3 games. Started the last one against San Antonio. Got 10 boards in 25 minutes. Prior to that, 8 in 33, 12 in 32, 14 in 30. Great matchup here against Brooklyn. Last time he played them back in January, he dropped a 30 and 14. The first time he played them in December, he dropped 29 and 8. I'm going to go with the over.
Yeah, over for me as well. I have him projected right around that 10.5 rebound number, but 115 points for the over gets me there. Karl Anthony Towns, one of our favorite plays on the slate, 14.5 rebounds plus assists with 115 points for the over.
Well, considering the 2 different projections I've got up have them at 18.5 and 18.3 combined, we got to take the over, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the top plays on the board.
Yeah, I would concur.
All right. Let's see. All right, here's a good one to close it out. Giannis, 44.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, even action on both sides.
I'm going to take the under out.
I have him at 42.5. So yeah, under for me also.
There we go. You heard it here, Adam. Not a fan of Giannis Antetokounmpo today. That's what we're going to distill that little soundbite down to. All right, that is going to wrap up the DFS strategy show here. Again, we've got all sorts of content coming out. We've got hockey articles that just posted. We've got the hockey projections up. I'm dropping a free article here for cash game builds. That's on the Osmo homepage. You're going to get the deep dive this afternoon. There will be a live before lock tonight with one Fast Eddie Fear. That will be at 6 o'clock this evening. And then tomorrow we've got a bolus of games for a Sunday. We've got another nooner. We've got Chicago at Detroit. We'll have projections for that, but not. Again, you're going to be playing a showdown slate to get that one in. Then you've got 2 3:30 games, and then you've got 2 6 o'clock, a 7, 2 8s, and an 8:30. So let's see if the sites are smart. I'm looking at you, FanDuel. If the sites are smart and they start at their main slate at 6, they're going to have a nice 6-game slate. You're going to get live before lock tomorrow with Fast Eddie, and I believe it will be one Josh Engelman joining him there. So that should be a fun one. With that, we're going to dip on out of here. Final thoughts, Adam, as you're leaving the West Coast soon.
Yeah, I'll have the deep dive article out in the next couple of hours. And other than that, good luck.
All right. With that, gamers, you can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EmacDFS. It is Osmo_COM. Good luck, gamers.